Excellent. All right, so hopefully you guys are still with us. We have our 2 o'clock session now, and I am pleased to introduce our next speaker, Michael Iacono. We actually were classmates in the early 2000s. No, I'm just kidding. Back in the 90s at PR Kent. So I am excited that he's here to present to us today on Facebook groups. So we're going to go ahead and turn it over to him. He's going to talk about how we can use Facebook groups to increase sales and promote brand awareness. And Michael, take it away.
Awesome. Hey, so first of all, let me just say thank you, Steph. It's amazing to see you. You have not aged a day, but good for you. Wonderful to see you. Thanks to Kent for allowing me to have an opportunity to come back and speak to you today. It means a lot. I got my undergrad in 1998 from Kent State. And then I picked up a master's in 2015 from Kent State. So thank you for the opportunity. Just one quick special shout out to Chris. Chris, nice to see you. Your dad was my undergrad advisor. So a big thanks for that as well.
Wait, Michael, also I want to thank you.
This guy right here.
Yeah.
yeah, that guy.
Michael, I also want to thank you. Michael was generous enough to donate. I wanted to mention this too before I turn off my video, but generous enough to donate 3 student seats for today. So he remembers being a college student and kind of struggling with finances, and he was kind enough to sponsor 3 students. So thank you for doing that.
Absolutely, my pleasure. So harnessing the power of Facebook groups, let's just get started. And if you have questions, please at Chris, at Stephanie, at Luke on Twitter, and use the hashtag YouToo2020 or YouToo2020. So bear with me. Yes, so here's our agenda. We're gonna talk about who we are. I'll be brief, what a Facebook group is, why you should use Facebook groups, promoting your brand in Facebook groups. I'm gonna give you a case study with one of our clients who's been gracious enough to agree that I can share some of their data with you. And then I'm gonna take some questions. I know I have 30 minutes. I tend to speak a bit quick. My students love that because they get out of class early. So if I'm going too fast, please let someone know, and one of the presenters can cue in and let me know. Okay, so let me tell you about me. I'm a former US Marine Corps officer, combat engineer. I did my undergrad in Kent State, as I said, in 1998, and then I joined the Marine Corps as a combat engineer. Many of you may wonder why I didn't become a public affairs officer. But I kind of wanted to do something I never did. And to be honest, blowing stuff up is pretty cool. So I spent 10 years doing that. It was a great time. Then I came to DC. My last duty station was here. I met an amazing man who plays lacrosse. We started a great family. You can see our 2 gorgeous children. One is a very needy husky. The other one's a little itty bitty tiny German Shepherd Chihuahua. And DM me later about how that happens, and I'll be more than happy to answer those questions. A little bit about me. After I got my master's in 2015, I left my government job. I was a PM director of a DoD program, and I decided to open my own firm. I started Indigo Consulting in 2015. We started out with me and just one client who was willing to take a chance. This is kind of our mantra. We stick with it. It's on all of our branding: positive, creative, and strategic. As I said, we started with me in 2015. We currently have 10 other employees, and then we have a bunch of people who work kind of part-time for us doing different things. So real happy to be around still today, even during these very trying times. All of our contact information is listed there. If you have any questions outside of this, please feel free to hit me up. Once we're able to be alive and go out in a safer environment, if you're in DC, please let me know. We'd love to have you over for coffee. There is a Facebook group for everyone. Bear with me.
We can't hear the sound if there's sound.
Oh, no. Well.
You know what, Michael, if you stop sharing and reshare your screen, but there's a little checkbox at the bottom that'll say play computer audio when you reshare it.
Bear with me.
Yep.
You know what? We'll skip it, actually, because by the time I figure out how to do this, I'll run us way over. Listen, it's a great commercial put out by Facebook. Facebook has really been promoting groups over the last year. I'll talk a little bit more about that, but this is one of them. Basically, it's a Basset Hound owner who wanted to find other Basset Hounds to take his dog to. Believe it or not, there's actually a group for this. There's a group for multiple dog breeds and places in Washington, D.C. There are at least 5 that I'm a member of. It just tells you kind of great places to take your dog in dog parks. By the time I give you the audio, we'll be at 3 o'clock. So let's talk about this. Throughout my slideshow presentation, there's about 14 actual slides. You'll see off to the left, I've got some quotes. I'm not going to read those to you. That's just something you can read later, but it really drives home some of the points that we'll make in the presentation. And I like to have all of my presentations, you to walk away a little bit happier than you did when we sat down today. So what is a Facebook group? It's just really a group for a lot of people on Facebook to come together. It's common interest generally, and usually anybody involved in that group all share some same interest that has brought them to the group. People come together to organize, they come together to discuss activities, they come together to protest. There's just a lot of share-related content in those groups. You can create your own group, or you can join up to 6,000 other groups per user. There are way more than 6,000 groups in Facebook, trust me. You can absolutely join many others. So what kind of groups? There are 3 types of groups. There's closed groups, private groups, and public groups. Closed groups are closed to the general public. However, when you search, you will still see these groups. So for example, if I wanted to join Washington, D.C. COVID-19 hotspots, that group does exist. It is a closed group. You have to agree to some rules and regulations when you join the group, and only members of that group can see the post within the group. Keep that in mind, that's kind of key for that group. Brands and companies are welcome in some of these. Many of them you do have to join personally with your Facebook. So if you are a brand manager, it would be you joining and not the brand. However, many closed groups have opened up to allow brands recently. A private group is closed to the general public. That group will not come up during a search. The only way that you can join this group is if someone within the group invites you in. That is the only way you can be a part of that. Public groups are open to the general public. Anybody can post in them, anybody can see the post, and anybody can see who the members are of the group. Public groups often get a lot of spammers. Stay aware of that. My agency, when we sit down with a client, we always tell them that we look for closed groups more specifically than public groups. We tend to be in both quite often. We have been invited to multiple private groups for different clients that we represent, and we have turned all of those down. Reason being that usually in private groups, there are some discussions that would not look quite good if they made it public. So we tend to steer away from those. Now, let me just give you a caveat on that. We do a lot of political PR on the Hill, a lot of work for multiple sides of the fence up there. We did have one congressional leader who wanted to create a private group just for their staff. And we did that, and we monitor that group and ensure that there's no craziness going on or anything that would look bad if it came out publicly. So you can create a private group. I will tell you that as a brand ambassador or a brand manager, if you're promoting your brand, private groups are likely the groups you want to stay away from. So there's been a paradigm shift in Facebook. As I stated earlier, Facebook has really been pushing groups. Facebook is trying to get the public to trust them again. And by pushing groups, they're really trying to say, hey, we've got this great place to bring people together, to communicate, to organize. So again, Facebook is doing a lot of the work for you. Hence the Super Bowl ad, hence the other ad that I just showed you. They've been promoting a lot of commercials to really push groups out there. It's a double-edged sword. Groups can be great, as I explained, which is why we're going to talk about them today. The fact that Facebook is pushing them is even better for you. So this has been a key theme I noticed today throughout some of the presentations that I had the pleasure of seeing. We trust our friends, right? We believe that a good conversation between two friends is the best thing that can happen for any content. Nobody wants you to sell to them. We see that on cable television every day. Nobody likes that. So even in groups, we tend to approach it as you're more than a brand or a company. regardless of whether we're representing one of our auto clients in Detroit or whether we're representing someone on the Hill. We always want to come off in a friendly tone in our groups. So just keep that in mind, that you don't want to push. It's just a friendly conversation between old friends. Groups have a lot of inherent reach already. The beauty of a group is that you can reach a mass number of people, just a ton of people. Some groups can range up to 140,000 members. Some groups are as little as 400 members. It just really depends on what your objectives is and why you want to utilize groups. It's a great place to engage with your clients, with your customers. It allows you an opportunity to answer questions. It gives customers and clients an opportunity to tell their story. It's just a great source for engagement. There's a lot of user-generated content in groups. Users can get really creative. For my car client, we've seen a lot of restoration specialists will post utilizing our floor pans in their cars. Sometimes they'll tag us, sometimes they don't know how to tag us, and we'll catch the video clip and we'll respond to it and say, hey, we're glad the product's working out for you. Again, that makes us want to, we obviously search the groups. As Wendy said earlier, it's very easy for us to stay up on what's happening by being actively involved in these groups. We go into the groups, we see if there's content that has been user-generated content that mentions us, and then we make sure to reply back to it and engage our customers. Peer-to-peer advice and support is key in groups. Again, a lot of people, if one of my friends tells me to try a product, I'm going to believe them more, or I'm going to trust them more than the product telling me to try the product. Recently, someone recommended I try a pair of running shoes in a running group that I'm in. I got the shoes and they were absolutely amazing. I tweeted about it at the individuals who made those particular shoes. They wanted to know how I found out about the shoes, and I set a Facebook group. They actually sent me a coupon code to offer to the Facebook group for their online store, which I did share that with the group. So again, peer-to-peer advice and support is great in these Facebook groups. I'm going to talk about this a little bit more as we go on, but sell yourself without selling yourself. I know that sounds crazy, but you'll see that in almost every one of our posts that we do in the case study, we do not mention our product. We will tag it, but we don't outright come out and mention it. And again, I'll get back to that, but nobody wants you to scream at them all the time to buy a product or all the time to support a candidate. There's ways to do that, and we'll talk on some of those. There are two types of groups, or I'm sorry, there are two ways you can join a group. You can either form your own group or you can join an established group. Based on the amount of time that we have here today, I'm going to talk about joining established groups. For a new group, I'm just going to run through this. You can, by all means, shoot me a message on Twitter, send me a direct message. I'll answer any questions I can for you on new groups. New groups take a lot of work to get up and running off the ground. You have to moderate, you have to advertise, content, and you absolutely have to go out and recruit members to come to your group. So just keep that in mind, that if you're going to start a group, I'm not telling you not to do it, especially if you're a local, let's say you're a local COVID-19 testing site. Your facility is a medical facility and you've started testing for COVID-19. You want to get a group out there to let people know what you're doing. There are certain ways to do that. And again, I'll be more than happy to talk you through that. Today, though, I'm going to really focus on established groups and how we have used established groups to really promote our clients. Established groups have members that are already a part of the group. They trust the content in the group, and they trust the group members. The trust has already been established for you. They generally have rules and guidelines that are already established and followed by every member. Typically, if a member does not follow rules or guidelines, they are booted and blocked from a group. That peer-to-peer connection is already established for you. And there are already some established stories that you can comment on, kind of give your take on as a brand or as an individual. Again, it just already has that established groundwork for you. So some tips for engagement. 3 to 5 posts weekly. 3 would be minimum. You want to stay active. Photos and videos, this goes without saying, but photos and videos always get more reactions. I don't care what group we're talking about. It could be my auto group. It could be my Hinsdale area mom group in Chicago. It doesn't matter. The more photos that you provide with your post, the better reaction you're going to get. Engage consistently. Start conversations. Add to an existing thread. Let me talk about start conversations. We will often post something in a group and we'll ask a question. Like we may post an auto restoration and then we'll ask some Jeep fans what they think about how, I'm going to show you a post a little bit later. We went to a SEMA auto show, took a photo of this really souped up, gorgeous Jeep, posted it in an off-road Jeep group. We knew it would get dragged because off-road Jeep group kind of folks don't love a lot of glitter and glam. They just like something that's big that can get muddy. And that thing shot up to about 70,000 reach in a matter of 4 days. I think our engagement on that was somewhere in the ballpark of 6,000 to 8,000. So we like to start conversations. We don't, obviously we're not controversial, but we want to start a conversation that we know that's, or we want to write content, I'm sorry, that we know is going to engage in conversation. We're telling a story, but we also encourage people who we're engaging with to give us their story. Tell us why this wouldn't be a great off-road. Tell us why you wouldn't buy this Jeep. Tell us why you don't like this Jeep. It's really pretty. And we've done that. We've also added to existing threads. We'll jump into a group, Hinsdale area mom group. We have a client in Chicago that runs a kids gym. Of course, obviously right now due to certain things, they're closed. But previously to that, there was a mom looking for ways to get her kid active and involved in stuff. And we immediately jumped in, started talking about the great benefits of that particular facility. And at the end, we DM'd her a savings code that she could go try it out. So don't be afraid to jump into some conversations that are already going on. Again, you don't want to come off selling immediately out of the gate. We established a rapport with her and earned her trust and then said, hey, we'd love for you to come in and check out our facility. Tell a story, right? We're all storytellers. As I said, we like to get a reaction on a lot of our posts. We don't leave our post open-ended per se, especially when we're sharing it for a group. We really want to know what the group thinks as we're sharing that content. Be respectful even when it's hard. This is key. I mentioned spammers earlier, but there is always going to be someone in the group that either does not like you, does not like your product, does not like your representative, just doesn't like you. And that's okay, right? It's a free country. This is what we do. There's a way to be polite about that and to say, hey, we really appreciate you sharing that insight. Thanks for letting us know. Obviously, if they start using inappropriate content or start harassing you, then you need to bring that up to the group moderators. But always be respectful. We will never engage in a hostile manner with anybody in any group ever. Communicate and recognize brand ambassadors. Spread love. We absolutely love when another company mentions us in their builds or in their post. We will post that to multiple groups and we will recognize them and thank them and reach out to them as much as we possibly can. It's just a great way to do business and it has reaped huge benefits for us. No direct selling. I've talked about this. I just want to reiterate it again. You don't want to come off selling your product or your brand immediately from the go. Just keep that in mind. Let me jump into my case study. So Classic to Current Fabrication has been one of our clients since 2015. We've been honored and we continue to share a great relationship with them. They are a leader in rusty panel repair industry in Detroit, Michigan. They are veteran owned and operated, and they have a small workforce of about 50 individuals. They manufacture and sell auto parts. So for example, if you were backing out of your driveway and clipped your mailbox and broke up your bumper, don't want to submit that insurance claim, they would be the website you would go to get that new bumper that you could put on or have one of your friends put on. When we took them on in 2015, their Facebook page was horrible. They just had no real reach, no engagement. Their yearly income was about $388,000. They just weren't really growing. We were able to, talk to them, pitch them some great ideas that we had. And they, acquiesced and let us kind of take Facebook in the direction we wanted to. Initially, they were nervous about joining groups. They were nervous about, kind of doing what we wanted to do, which was not consistently tag and sell product, because they were just really posting a lot of photos of product. What we wanted to do was take the story in a different direction. Show us what we're using the product for. What are you restoring? What is your home project that you've been working on, your auto car in the garage? Initially, our first year, the campaign was get it out of the garage and back on the streets. We had a great time with that campaign. We really boosted them up. I'm going to show you where we're at today. So this was in August, we did this, August 4th through August 31st. You can see that our post reach for that month was 308,861. Our engagement was right around 68,000. Page likes, they come and go. I'm not really that concerned about those, but our page likes hovered around 500. Again, we're real concerned about the reach and our engagement. That's how we kind of justify what we do. If you look off over to the side, you'll see for that particular time frame that we're talking about, no, I'm sorry, this is actually from November. We really keyed in on some cars that were at SEMA, which is a huge auto show we were at. We really have been able to increase the engagement and the reach, which has resulted in a lot of sales. We know for a fact that through Facebook, we're garnering a huge amount of sales for this particular company. In 2019, just to let you know, they went from 388,000 in 2015 when we had them. They're hovering around 4.8 million in sales today. That was actually in 2019. 2020 will likely be more. We just don't have those numbers, obviously. We know that our Facebook direct referrals for that particular year for 2019 were 14,000 direct to the site. These are two other examples of posts, and you'll see that this is that Jeep post that I talked about. And the Jeep post, again, this is a gorgeous Jeep, right? I would drive it. I'm not an off-road kind of guy, but I would absolutely drive that Jeep because it's really pretty. However, again, we had so many comments of people saying, it was a horrible looking Jeep. It should never have won the SEMA build of 2019. Just a lot of drags for that particular Jeep. You'll notice in that post, we did not tag any of our products. We just really wanted to generate that post. And this next post for the 1970 Chevrolet Chevelle SS454, we actually tag a few products. You would not be able to see the products unless we were on Facebook directly, but we tagged some floor plans that we manufacture. We know that in the amount of time that we had this post up, it reached about 72,000 people. The engagement is somewhere around 4,000, or I'm sorry, somewhere around 9,000. Again, we're able to look back through our analytics, and we know that this post helped generate about $2,000 in sales. Just by people seeing it, people in different Chevelle clubs were really interested in getting the American-made product that Classic to Current has. And if you'll bear with me, this is just one more example of a post. We recently did this one back on April 8th during COVID-19, obviously. Sales have slowed down, and our engagement has slowed a little bit as well. However, I will tell you that our reach is still up. This particular post, again, we posted on April 8th of this year. As of yesterday, the day before, we're hovering at around 48,000 reach with around 2,600 engagement. On this particular post, you'll see I just took a screenshot of the products that we have that we tagged in this post. And one is a rocker panel, one is a floor pan, and the other one is another floor pan. All of those products are manufactured at the facility in Detroit by that particular company. As I stated, in 2019, we know for a fact that we were able to link at least 85,000 in sales directly to Facebook posts. All of this is organic. I should have mentioned that initially. I apologize. We do not pay for any advertised post on Facebook, none whatsoever. Every reach and engagement that we get is organic, and it's all done through Facebook groups. We've tested this theory. We posted something just simply onto the Classic to Current page. Reach was maybe 2,000. Engagement was probably about 55. But once we start sharing that in groups, it really starts to jump up. So again, the direct success of our Classic to Current fabrication Facebook page, and certainly it results in sales for them directly, is all through Facebook groups. Let me just give you a few tips. Make sure that you tell a story that resonates. Regardless of what product you're selling, regardless of where you're at, regardless of what group, your story needs to absolutely connect. The particular client we have in Chicago is called Windy City Ninjas. Prior to COVID-19, we shared a story of two of our junior ninjas making it to the American Ninja Warrior Junior Edition on TV. We posted that in every mom's area group that we were involved in Chicago, and that thing took off like wildfire. We had probably, for that local area, the reach was close to 25,000. The engagement, if I remember correctly, was right around 2,200. It was just a great story that resonated in that community. A lot of people knew the two kids that were involved from going to school and coming to the facility. It just worked out really well for that group. So again, regardless of your client, regardless of what your objective is, make sure that your story resonates with the group. Recruit your most passionate advocates. We really drive home at car shows, at multiple different things that we're at for people to tag us in their stories, to recommend any groups that they're involved in. One of our particular clients on the Hill is a representative out of Michigan. We've been able to utilize a lot of her connections to local business groups there that have really helped her to disseminate some key information on the PPP funding program. It was easier to get in those groups and disseminate that information directly to people who needed it than to try and put it on a Facebook post, because we know that her reach on Facebook was not as great. Find your people. Let's go back to making sure that you find the group that's appropriate for you. If you're a local representative out of Ohio, you're going to want to find groups that are local to your area, local to your community. Don't reach for groups in Washington, D.C., or groups in Kentucky, or the Moms National Organization group per se, unless you're pushing some national organization legislation. So keep things to the right groups that work for you. If you pick the wrong groups, your results will be disastrous. Be a friend, create a bond. Again, go into these groups with the understanding that the best conversations happen between two friends. Friends talking to friends. The engagement is so much better than trying to come off pushing your brand, pushing your company, pushing your representative. You don't want to constantly be pushing your client. You really want to hone in on the key aspects of just a friendly conversation. Listen, learn, improve. This goes without saying. I preach this to my staff all the time. Always take a listen to the tone of the group. If the tone of the group is a negative tone, if regardless of what the post is, it's constantly getting shot down or negative, then that's probably not the group for us. We should probably disembark from that group, reassess things, and join a group that is better fitted to promote our message or to get our brand out there. A huge thing about this is listening to what's happening. And I'm pretty sure, go ahead, Steph, I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, are you getting close?
Yeah. So at the end,
Perfect.
questions and discussions. So listen, I will read this quote because I'm a huge Big Bird fan. Bad days happen to everyone, but one happens to you. Just keep doing your best and never let a bad day make you feel bad about yourself. We're in some crazy times right now, but just remember to try and stay as positive you possibly can. That's my biggest takeaway for that for you. Awesome. And that ends my show. What questions can I answer for you?
Thank you. Okay, I have a question for you. In terms of, you kind of talked a little bit more about your client going into these groups, and it looks like your client went in with their name. I'm just curious if when you kind of go into groups for your clients, do you go in as yourself, as your firm, and are you transparent about what you're doing in there in terms of getting insight for your clients?
Got it. That's a great question. So we never go in as the firm. I will tell you that up front. We will often go in as the client. And when we are in as the client, we will say, hey, we're thinking about making, maybe we want to do a new body panel, right? We want to maybe do a new floor pan for a car that some people have requested from us. And we'll say, hey, we're really interested in doing a 68 Impala floor pan. And we might be in a 68 Impala enthusiast group. And we'll ask those individual members, is there really a need for this floor pan? Like, are you finding it difficult to find this floor pan when you're restoring your car? Are you finding it difficult to get a vendor who sells this? Is there really a need for that? If a customer is in a group and they've tagged us in a restoration that they've done, we will absolutely come in as the client, Class to Current Fabrication in this case, and we'll thank them for, you know, utilizing us. We'll thank them for using our product. When we are acting on behalf of one of our clients on the Hill, we are always 100% that client we are always that client when we are discussing things. So we will never come off as someone else. We will always say we are that client, or we are representing the thoughts of client X, Representative X.
Excellent.
Is that okay? Cool.
Yes, that's great. All right. Well, that was excellent. Thank you for those great tips. If anybody wants to continue the conversation, again, we still have our hashtag on Twitter, YouToo2020. So keep the conversation going. And then we are going to make these slides available on the YouTube website, and the video is available on the website too. So if you want to go back and rewatch things, everything will be there. So thank you, Michael. It was good to see you.
Thanks, Steph.